Hey gang, Ross Brand here for LivestreamUniverse.com. Well, don't go to the website right now. It's down for a little repairs, but it'll be back up soon. But you can always find us at rossbrand.live, and that's the Livestream Universe Facebook page where you're watching right now. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. If you're on the replay, welcome. If it's your first time, this is the show where we feature talented broadcasters delivering high-quality content across live stream platforms. That's why we call it Livestream Stars. So welcome, everybody. Again, normally I'd say go check us out at livestreamuniverse.com, but today, just stay right where you are, and hopefully that website will be up sooner than later. Anyway, I'm very excited to introduce our guest tonight. Carlos Gil is somebody who's making a big impact in the world of social. He's going to be speaking this week, I believe it is, right, at Social Media Marketing World 17 in San Diego. He recently led an event and did speaking at South by Southwest. He did a keynote. I got to see him and meet him in person doing a keynote out in L.A. for Summit Live. He's producing a couple of video series, Real Talk, Hustle Diaries, and he's also, when he's not doing all that, he's head of social for BMC Software is his day job. And you can find them at carlosgil.biz, easy for me to say, on the web. Also, the Carlos Gil on Snapchat, one of the major Snapchat influencers out there. And, of course, he tweets at CarlosGil83. I say, of course, because in one of the tweets I sent out, I left out the 83, and the other Carlos Gil, I guess, has had that happen a few times because he was very nice about it, but sent me a message. I think this is the Carlos Gil you want. I'm like, I know which Carlos Gil I want, but thanks and sorry. So anyway, with all that going on, I wanted to start off talking about HR because I saw your presentation, or at least pieces of it in the videos. And you were talking at South by Southwest of HR because I guess you don't have enough to do with social and Snapchat and your job. Tell me what you're doing with HR. This is fascinating to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, Ross, thank you so much for having me on the show. And, please, for all of you out there that can help me get my @CarlosGil handle Twitter accounts, please send the other Carlos Gil a tweet.
Well, he definitely knows about you. Let's put it that way.
He does know about me. I've actually offered to, not to buy the handle from him over the years, but I've asked him, is there anything I can do to incentivize you to give me my name on Twitter, since we all know I'm much more active than the average Carlos Gil when it comes to using social media and Twitter. Anyways, man, South by Southwest was a great time. I spoke at 2 different events out there, actually 3 different events. One of them I hosted was the VIP Brand Summit, but 2 of the events I spoke at over there, one of them was an official South by Southwest panel with Shauna Ayala, Cyrene Cute, and Danny Burke. They are 3 of the hottest, most influential Snapchatters out there today. The other event I spoke at was actually organized by TalentNet. They are an organization within the HR and talent acquisition space that produces events. And I was asked by my friend Jessica Miller-Merrill, who ironically I spoke at South by the previous year. I was asked by her to be on a panel along with MGM Resorts and another HR executive around specifically using the topic was actually around using Livestream. And we went from Livestream for talent acquisition all the way into the full gamut of Snapchat and Instagram, and how to really use social media from a employer branding and talent acquisition standpoint. So a lot of folks out there don't know, but the first 4 years that I worked in social media, I actually had a startup called Jobs Direct USA that was primarily focused, and this is from 2008 to the end of 2011 during the recession. So my startup was primarily focused on helping connect brands or help employers connect and find talents to hire for jobs. So a lot of what my company did back then, early on when social media was still at the ground level, was work with various talent acquisition departments and recruiters on helping them understand social recruiting. So again, we're talking 2009, 2010, right, when LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter was still somewhat relatively at the ground level. So a lot of what my company did and what I personally did was train organizations on how to use these mediums to find talent. Now, fast forward to 2017, and I think everyone understands at the recruitment and HR level that you have to have a presence on social media for various reasons. But when you start peeling back the layers of the onion, you start really talking, to recruiters and talent acquisition professionals now about how social media has evolved and changed, let's face it, that's top tier candidates are not necessarily spending hours on LinkedIn anymore looking for recruiters. They're not spending hours anymore on LinkedIn looking for jobs. Instead, recruiters and talent acquisition professionals are having to invest time in building what's called their employer brand, which is really showcasing why should a talent want to go work for them. And the example that I like to use is as myself. I like to consider myself a talent that is highly sought after by organizations. And anytime that I am personally approached by a company to go work for them, they oftentimes will lead in with this very long email or in-mail on LinkedIn, and they will typically drop in there a link to show me a YouTube video, very well polished, highly well-produced video that goes to YouTube that tells me all about their company, and it has executives, it has employees, and it always paints this very pretty picture of this is why you want to work here. However, the reality from most companies is what you're showing to prospective candidates throughout the recruitment process in those very well-produced videos is not the reality of what a lot of employees face when they actually go work at a company.
Right.
So I speak, you know my thing, Ross, it's all about real talk. I speak very much from the heart and from experience. So I shared with these HR executives, about 200 HR executives in the room. It was a packed house. It was at Whole Foods headquarters in Austin, Texas. And what I really spoke to them was why you want to leverage live video specifically, why you want to leverage Snapchat, those two mediums in parallel to really to tell your company story in a much more authentic manner than what you're going to show on YouTube. And I walked them through what we do here at BMC Software, where we use a combination of Facebook Live and Snapchat, not just around recruiting, but anytime there's celebrations or there's events. So a couple of weeks ago was International Women's Day, and we had mimosas on the 5th floor here at our Silicon Valley campus in Santa Clara. And my team was there capturing that content on Snapchat. And I use these as examples because this is how essentially you humanize your organization. You show that the organization that you represent, it's fun, it's engaging. And as I said to the folks at South by, a lot of companies aspirationally want to be able to pull talent from the IBMs and the Microsofts and the Dells of the world. If you're going to pull that talent, you have to be able to show them what the experience is like working at your organization.
Exactly. And, you look at, and I'm big on broadcasting from the desktop and having a fairly polished show and everything, but this is the tool that the companies ought to be using, and they ought to be showing actually what it's like to work there and what the culture is like. Now, obviously, you're going to select employees who present well, who understand the medium, but giving an honest look in at the culture will both attract those people who want to work in that culture, and it will also save you time in recruiting because it will repel those people who will say, okay, a fun, loose environment isn't for me, or a serious environment isn't for me, or, a place where people are all in all day, I'm not for that, or whatever. So it actually is a little time invested in being creative, is a lot of time not have to be spent screening applications and doing interviews with people who, if they got an honest look, wouldn't even waste your time applying, right?
Agreed. The job search process nowadays feels very much antiquated, not just for a candidate, but also feels antiquated for the recruiter. And the reason why is because social media has really fragmented communication. Let's face it, there's so many options nowadays for a candidate to engage with a recruiter and vice versa. So I think at the end of the day, what really sells candidates on wanting to go work for an organization, at least what they see on the surface, is more of that experience. And let me tell you something, with live video, you can now take a job posting, and again, we've done this here at BMC, you can take your job posting that lives on your website, and you can essentially bring it to life. You can interview the hiring manager, you can have the hiring manager talk about what he or she is looking for in an ideal candidate, you can have them talk about the culture. And I say to you like this, I was speaking with the head of talent acquisition for Comcast at this event, South by, and I was letting him know, in fact, you can see some of it on the Hustle Diaries. I just wanted to plug that. You can see it. You can see it down there on part 8. So what I was saying to this gentleman is you can take the same storyboard of your professionally well-produced video, and you can chop it up, and you can get the same effect where you have employees talking about the organization, you have executives, you show the workplace, but instead of having it be one well-produced video, use Facebook Live and make it multiple segments. Chop
Right.
it up, have 5 or 6 different pieces of content. Maybe one day you show your call center and you show what it looks like working there, and you pull a couple people and you have them there on the sidelines talking. I think if companies start doing this,
Right.
what they'll find is they will make their place instantly look like a spot where talent wants to go work.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking the same concepts that were applied to like the career website, which, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, it was all stock photos on every company of employees like in a circle going, yay! And you're supposed to go, oh man, is it fun there, right? But of course, the same little group of people are on every application that you look at, right? Every website. Right. So it's the same thing, right? Instead of the highly produced a video, having real employees talking about their career path. Well, what's better testimony that there's opportunity there, that it's a good place to work, that you can move up, you can learn, you can grow, you can, make more money and have a better, better career and whatever, than to actually listen to real employees saying it instead of an actor or somebody presenting it so scripted. And it's the same thing. Like, now companies realize putting real photos on Instagram and showing what it's like behind the scenes with photos. Same philosophy obviously applies to video. Now, the live video part is where companies get really scared, right? Because that's like, I don't know what my employee is going to say, and it hasn't been approved by. Well,
it's like anything else, though, Ross. The reason why they get scared is because they don't know, and they need someone to be their Sherpa and guide them. So, kind of bringing it back to the talk at Whole Foods headquarters at South by that I gave, I'm not in HR. I work in marketing, but I work very closely with my HR business partners here at BMC and every organization. LinkedIn, Winn-Dixie, Save Lot, same thing. If you work in marketing, marketing is not just a department that's siloed away from everyone else. You work very closely with your key stakeholders. So every organization I've worked at, I've in some way, shape, or form, I've worked with HR, and it comes down to leadership. If you are in a marketing role for a brand, or if you have your own agency and you have clients, your role essentially is to be that internal consultant to them. So it's working directly with HR. It's showing them a proof of concept. I'm a big fan of asking for an opportunity to do proof of concept. So many months ago, when we were here internally at BMC talking about this, we showed our talent acquisition team, like, this is how you do a Facebook Live. And we went out, we pulled a very senior level member here at our Silicon Valley campus that was actually hiring for a job. And a person on my team, a direct report from my team and I, we went and we met with him and we prepped him. We said, hey, this is what we're looking to do. We want to do no more than a 2-minute video. These are the key points that we want to hit on, which is A, tell us about what you do at BMC. B, why is this a place that someone would want to work? And 3, talk to us about the opportunity that you're hiring for. What are you looking for in a candidate? And then from there, marketing can fill all the holes. And the holes is, the post copy, the link to go apply at. But you do have to give some sort of direction. And again, it's like anything else, Ross. And I said this before, and I said it to the group in Austin. There has to be collaboration and partnership between the two groups. It has to be marketing and HR/recruiting coming together, and marketing really lead the way for them and teach them. Because we see this happen not just with HR, but we see this happen at all stages of marketing, where companies are really scared to pull the trigger because they just don't know the impact this is going to have. And they're afraid that an employee is going to say something. But guess what, guys? Any employee right now, any company can take their own cell phone. They can take this, and they can go on from within the company, walls. They can go on, they can create content. They can talk good, bad, or indifferent about the company. They can go on Glassdoor and write about the company. There's not much that you can really do today to prevent your employees from saying what they're going to say about you. If for one reason they don't like working for you, or if they love working for you, you can't do much to mitigate it. What you can do is you can empower your employees. That's something that you don't hear enough of, the word empowerment. And in fact, you can train your employees how to be advocates for your brand. I tell you, one of the things that we've done here in the time that I've been at BMC that I'm really proud of is we've established an employee advocacy strategy. We have a good number of employees. I don't know if it's confidential or not, so I won't say it. So we have a good number of employees globally around the world that have access to a database of content where they can log in, they can share content that's already been pre-written, has links, has hashtags, you name it. And again, that goes back to something I'm a big believer in at least in my leadership role, running social media for a brand, which is empowerment of employees.
Well, that's awesome that you've worked in companies, and it sounds like you've been a leader really in getting marketing and HR to collaborate, because after all, HR, when you strip away a lot of the sort of policing functions and paperwork functions, is essentially internal marketing, but it doesn't look at itself that way, right? It's marketing to the employees who then go out and provide great customer service and sales and a great customer experience on the outside, and it's also creating that employment brand both internally, and it should be aligned with what you're putting out there for recruiting. Let me just say a quick hello to some great people who joined us. I know you know Stephanie Liu. She's here. Claudia Santiago, Nick Rishwain, Nazim Beltran staying up late. Todd Bergen, great to see you, Todd. Barb Tomlin. And let's see, who else? Carlos Phoenix, what's going on? Nazim has a question. Are companies staying away from live streaming because of the fact that they are worried about the viewer comments that could be out of control, or do you see a shift on this not being an issue? It's a little wordy, so I won't keep it up on the screen. But
here's my perspective, guys. And you know I'm all about the real talk. So I think at the brand marketing level, you don't have enough practitioners that are actually using the technology. A lot of us that are homies in the space, Nazim, Ross, Stephanie, on and on, a lot of us, we get live streaming. We do it ourselves. But when I go to a conference that is primarily brand marketers, not social media practitioners or social media thought leaders or personalities, when I actually go to a conference with people who work for enterprise brands, hardly any of these people are hardly any of them have personal brands to start with. So, because they don't have personal brands, because a lot of these folks, when they read about live stream through Mashable or Social Media Examiner, they go run off to their agency to just do it for them. They're not using it themselves. So because they're not using it themselves, they don't necessarily believe it because they don't see the power of it. And for anyone that says, no, you're full of it, I challenge them because I see a lot of the brands that are using live stream to some extent. Oftentimes they have an agency behind the scenes is doing it for them. So it comes back down, honestly, to leadership. And if you are sitting there, thinking aspirationally, you want to work with brands, get in front of their faces. And the way to get in front of their faces is not through live streaming. It's actually using a combination of LinkedIn. It's using Twitter, and show them the proof of concept. A lot of these brands are, people that get hired to work at brands are very smart individuals, very educated. They, a lot of them run very large budgets, but they're just naturally not practitioners. So I think anytime you can show a proof of concept to them, send them a tweet. Say, hey, look, we'd love to do this for Coca-Cola, if it's Coke or whomever. You have to spell it out for them. I'll share this with you guys. I get influencer gigs, right? And the way I've come to know how to growth hack influencer marketing as an influencer, not as a marketer. Right. And I think being a marketer helps because I know how to speak the language, KPIs, yada, yada, yada. The way that I personally get influencer gigs is I literally will reach out and spell out, this is what I'm going to do for you. And once you spell it out, it's kind of hard to say no because everything within like one email is already spelled out like, hey, this is who I am. This is the reach I have. This is what I propose to do. This is what I need from you. And this is what I'm going to do in return. Mm-hmm. So once you spell everything out, at that point, that marketer is going to sit there and think, well, we've wanted to do influencer marketing. We don't know where to get started. We don't know who to find. We don't know what to propose to them. Here, it's literally an opportunity that's fallen on our lap. So I think to anyone out there that's in the live streaming community, you want to work with brands, take that approach. Take your favorite brands, find the people that work in marketing at these brands, whether it's a brand director, brand manager, social media manager, on, and make the pitch.
And you think obviously there's a lot of brands out there that really aren't even doing influencer marketing or really that active on social. They just push out a message here and there, a little contest once in a while, whatever. Do you think that live streaming is actually a way that they can speed up that engagement and that customer acquisition that they're looking for? Rather than say, okay, we've got to start building up our Twitter and then we've got to, have a Facebook page and go on. Yeah, they need all those elements and they probably have them and aren't using them that well. But at this point, it just seems like the growth and the connection, particularly for a small to mid-sized business where a new client, a new customer could mean a lot for that quarter's when you look at the books for that quarter or whatever. Don't you think that almost like make live streaming more the priority rather than it being a little addition to our social strategy, make that more the centerpiece and then have the social strategy support that?
I don't necessarily agree that live stream should be the focal point of your social strategy. I think it comes down to, at the end of the day, what are your objectives? What are you trying to accomplish, and what role does live stream play into that? So once again, we were talking about employer branding before. If you're looking to show that your organization is a fun place to work, there's many ways that you can go ahead and use live stream. In the case here at BMC, we're using live stream now to give folks access to our events if they can't attend. So we host events on a global level called BMC Days and BMC Exchanges. So we're using live stream, specifically Facebook Live, to show what's happening in Chicago or what's happening in Paris or what's happening in Sao Paulo. Again, it comes down to, it's subjective. So every company is going to have their own reasoning for using it. I don't think necessarily it should be the main piece of the pie. And the reason why is because a lot of companies are strapped and challenged when it comes to talent and resources. So let's face it, there's a skill set that a lot of creators that you find on Snapchat or Instagram even possess, and that's creative storytelling. Your average marketer, and I'm going to put myself in that same category. While you guys see me doing the whole Snapchat fam thing and hustle diaries and all that stuff, I'm naturally not a creative storyteller. I'm a marketer. I'm a marketing exec and business professional. So I don't draw well. I'm not funny on social media. So that's the challenge, man. At the end of the day is you need to have the bench. I think a lot of companies are going to start hiring aspirationally for that talent, so they start building the bench. But I just don't think we're there right now. I do think, though, once again, that there's opportunity for live stream at the brand level, but it takes really some finesse. I'll share with you some examples. We've started to do some live streams around events, and we noticed that people aren't sticking around for 2 hours to watch content. So for us, that's an indication that maybe we shouldn't be doing 2-hour live streams. Maybe we should be doing 10-minute keynotes. Maybe we should chop it up. Maybe the live stream is good for just in the moment so we can tap in the Facebook algorithm, but at the end of the day, maybe that content should come down after the live stream so our video editing team can polish it up, cut it up, make a 2-minute video for YouTube. There's so many ways to skin live video. I think everyone's thinking right now that there's like this just one clear-cut way that all brands should do it, and quite frankly, there's not.
Yeah. And it's not like people think of it as one thing, and it's not. It's a very different genre, really, going live and doing a, spur of the moment cell phone video for a couple minutes and doing a fully produced show and everything in between. I just want to say a quick hi to Sabrina Cadini, who just joined us. Sabrina, great to see you. Guys, if you can share this out, I would love that. Carlos is dropping some real knowledge here. Hey, Alexander, thanks for joining us.
That's the thing. So shows, right? And sorry to interrupt you, Ross.
Sure.
GoDaddy has a very impressive live stream show. GoDaddy, from my perspective, sets the standard for live streaming, as does NASDAQ. These two brands. So make sure you follow NASDAQ and you follow GoDaddy. They set the standard for live stream. And why do they set the standard? Because the content is very well produced. It looks like it's almost directed. It's in a studio. They're using good lighting, good cameras. I think that sets the standard for what an enterprise brand should aspire to have for an actual show. I think that there's other ways that if you want to create something that's much more organic and authentic, let's say you're Coke or you're a CPG brand, you can tap into social media. You can find people who are not influencers, but you can find true advocates for your brand. And you can essentially do what we're doing here, where you can give them access to do a Periscope / Twitter Live or do a Facebook Live, do an unboxing. I'd love to see Nike do more of unboxing videos through live, where they go out and they find kids like my son, who's 11, who loves Durant's, and let him show how cool it is to go unbox a pair of Kevin Durant sneakers.
Right. No, that's awesome. I want to throw in a question here from Stephanie. What equipment are you using? You touched on it, but what are you using for streaming live events?
We use at BMC, we use professional video equipment. And then we use a third-party bridge to get the feed from the cameras there in person over to Facebook Live.
So is Facebook Live your primary destination for doing those live events?
It is.
Okay. And would you recommend to to most brands that Facebook Live should be where they focus right now, or do you think YouTube Live is a major opportunity?
I haven't tapped much into YouTube Live personally. I would say Facebook Live definitely is the play right now. If you're going to tap into YouTube Live, you should have a YouTube strategy. That would be my very succinct answer.
Let's turn to what you are doing on YouTube and with other videos. Real Talk, The Hustle Diaries. You're putting out these series that are really well produced. They're shot at different times, right? And you're pulling video together, music. Really nicely done. You've also been doing some tutorials as well, right? And they're very well produced and really break down in like 5 to 10 minutes how you do something on social media or with marketing. Talk about what made you decide to kind of, go from just doing real and raw stuff to doing more produced stuff that, really is developing kind of a following for that kind of content as well.
Well, first of all, it comes down to strategic vision. So who do I want to be when I grow up? How do I want people to view me and perceive me? I think there's a lot of noise in social media nowadays. And I think in order to stand through that noise and to rise really above it, your content really is what speaks volumes for itself. And most importantly, not just the content, but the community that you serve. So I recognize the content that I create, it's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to like it. Trust me. Comments, I read what other people say out there. But I made a conscious decision about a year ago that if I want to be a leader in the industry of not just marketing and social media, but a business leader around the globe, people have to know who the Carlos Gil brand is. And in full disclosure, I've spent almost 10 years now following other leaders out there, a lot of the same ones that we all watch. Right. And there's nothing that really sets myself and them apart, or anyone watching this and myself and them apart, besides time. You have to put in the time, you have to create the content, you have to get people to know who you are. And there has to be a powerful message within your content that people are going to hang on to. So what I've done through the Hustle Diaries is it's really a documentation of my journey. Again, I made a conscious decision going into 2017. I want this to be the year that people really know who I am. A lot of people see me online. They really don't know what I do, who I am. They don't know what's behind the Snapchat fam and the haircut selfies and all that. So this is my way to really give people an inner glimpse. And people have said to me, it feels like it's like a Daily V ripoff or whatnot. And I tell them, no, it's not. It's myself. It's what I do and who I am. And I think that there's a difference nowadays between if you really want to rise above the noise or stay underground, you have to create content. And it doesn't necessarily have to be well produced. It doesn't have to be with professional cameras. It doesn't have to be with the music that makes you feel good, but you have to get your name out there. So that's one with Hustle Diaries. Real Talk is interesting. So for the first couple of years, I really went hard on Snapchat, and where a lot of people got to know me is most of the time when I would be working from home, I would create content on my Snapchat. I was answering questions. It was giving people tips, major keys. And I started putting that content on YouTube, and I wasn't really happy with the way that content looked, aesthetically speaking. And I saw a lot of people aren't watching this content on YouTube for obvious reasons. One, they can already see it on Snapchat, so it's old news. Two, aesthetically speaking, it's all cropped and cut off because, as you know, Snapchat records in vertical video. So about this time last year, and there's a story here that I want you guys to follow along with. Around this time last year, I was speaking at a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the head of social and digital for NASDAQ and I actually created a live stream together. And he was like, hey man, like you're really good on camera. You dropped really good knowledge. By the way, we have this full production studio in San Francisco at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. If you ever want to use it, let me know and I'll book you some studio time. And that was right around the time where I was doing a lot of these tutorials, on my phone or with a small camera or on Snapchat. So I thought to myself, if I can take that content and produce it in a studio, that's something that could potentially help me take my personal brand to another level, because now the content is, better produced. It's much more well polished. And quite frankly, it's something that maybe could get me inroads with maybe a CNN or a Fox or some sort of media outlet, down the road. Like, you never know. So it's the power of networking that really put me in that situation. And, Real Talk is a series I do. We're over 20 episodes in now, and it's a show where I either interview interesting guests in the world of business, as I always say. Right. Kind of what we're doing here. We just kind of flow for about 10 or 15 minutes. Or I also alternate in between episodes where I take questions from social media and turn them into content. So, kind of a growth hack for anyone out there watching, listen to your community, listen to what your community is talking about, pay attention to direct messages on Twitter, pay attention to your inbox on Facebook, because every single episode that I create a Real Talk, every single Inc. article that I write, even the things I spit out on Hustle Diaries is all derived from what you guys say to me on an ongoing basis.
Forgot Inc. Congrats on getting the column there. That's awesome on being an Inc. contributor. What is it like for the Hustle Diaries having a camera follow you around? Like how is that something that you do just like when you're speaking, or is that something like you're having somebody shoot all day and then you distill it down to what we see when it's produced? It's
definitely distilled down. Quite frankly, I wanted someone to come here to my office today and record me, but there's a difference between the Carlos Gill side hustle and Carlos Gill, global head of social for a large enterprise company. So, I'd love to be able to show people more of like an introspective look of like really the balance. I think a lot of folks here in this live stream are seeing a different side of me that you don't necessarily see on the Hustle Diaries or on a Real Talk or when I'm on Snapchat. And the reason why is because I'm sitting here in my office. So when I'm sitting here in my office, obviously I've been in business meetings all day. Whereas when you see me on the Hustle Diaries, it's more speaking engagements. I'm out and about in the wild. So again, it's more of an introspective look of getting people to feel a little bit more connected and closer to me. Having a camera, answer your question, having a camera following me around, it's one of those things I just kind of ignore. I'll be doing a live recording at Social Media Marketing World in a couple of days. So for those of you that are there, don't feel like spooked out if you see someone with like a camera popping up. It's just one of those things that I kind of forget and ignore. And honestly, I'm like looking back now through the footage of South by Southwest. It's just a great way, man, to like hang on to those memories and be able to just show what happens.
Yeah. No, that's great. And speaking of South by Southwest, you will be speaking at Social Media Marketing World. You did speak at South by Southwest. You spoke at Summit Live. You're hot on the speaking circuit. And everybody who sees you talks about, like, Carlos brings so much energy. He's a great speaker. Is that something that you've developed over time, or was that just like speaking just came natural to you like the first time you got up on stage? How did you kind of develop what you do now, which is so highly regarded by people?
That's a really good question. And it comes down to one word, and that's passion. I think passion is something you cannot fake. There's a lot of things out there that you can fake. I think passion, you either have it or you don't. Back in 2013, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. I was at Salesforce annual conference Dreamforce. And 2013 going into 2014 for me was the pivotal year because I made a conscious decision of I want to start getting on stages and speaking. I've been working for quite some time now. I think there's a lot that I can teach other marketers out there about social media. And I was watching actually Mark Benioff, founder of Salesforce, and I said, wow, like this is really, really cool seeing how someone with a vision created this huge conference with over 100,000 attendees here. So going into 2014, I started just applying for conferences, and I was like really, really raw. Had never spoken publicly before. First conference I ever spoke at was actually hosted by Sprinkler. It was at Nissan's headquarters in, I want to say it was Chattanooga or Nashville, Tennessee. And it was basically me speaking to 30 people about how to use like social media on enterprise level. And since then, man, it's like anything else that you do. The more you practice, the better you get good at it. For me, it's very natural now to step on a stage and to speak to an audience. It's not something that I get scared about. But I think it just comes natural. And something a lot of people don't know about me is I'm actually really introverted, which is something you probably wouldn't know on the surface. And fun fact about me, I'm an only child. So growing up as a kid, growing up as a kid, I was always extremely, extremely shy. And I was always shy. In fact, like this has happened to me at some conferences I've been at over the years. People have walked up to me and they meet me and then they'll message me later and they're like, hey, like you're really different from what I thought you would be in person. I'm like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, you weren't like as vibrant and energetic. You were kind of quiet. And I was like, well, I'm like really sorry. Like the whole like aspect of like people walking up to me and whatnot. It's one of those things that like I'm still kind of getting used to. Right. Because again, like my whole life pre-social media, I was just kind of like in this bubble. And the more I do this, the more I speak, the more I create video content, Snapchat, the more people get to know me. It's kind of cool. It's really humbling getting out and hearing from people say to me like, man, like I watch all your content. It's really motivational, really inspirational. And like, that's what comes down to me. Like, that's my passion. I don't do any of this stuff for fame. I don't do any of this stuff for vanity. It's at the end of the day, I am here to build a legacy. I want people to know who I am, and I want to be able to motivate, inspire, and educate.
Stephanie Lou has a great question. Any tips on how to land speaking engagements? Use a one sheet?
I don't have a one sheet. So I don't have a speaker's kit. I don't have a one sheet. I would say best thing for you to do to land speaking engagements is start local in your community. Start small. I often say to folks, you can do a couple things. One, you can either volunteer at events in your community, like the local Chamber of Commerce, American Marketing Association, ANA. Volunteer for the local professional trade associations in your city. And from there, you'll be plugged in, you'll be connected, you'll know who all the players are that book speakers. So you can take that route, or you can start on a smaller scale and you can just approach these various conference organizers with a pitch. And do you know Chris Cubby, by the way, Ross? I'll share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let me put myself back on here. Here we go. I'm back. Yeah, I actually spent some time with Covey at social media at Summit Live. I'm starting to mix up these three events that starts with S. But yeah, I got a chance to spend some time with Covey there. What a nice guy. I mean, on really top of being like very extremely knowledgeable, much like you, he's much more like down to earth and low key in person than what I expected from Snapchat and from videos. Yeah,
I think with social media, honestly, like it's very easy to kind of create content. You want it to appear a certain way, but one thing you cannot fake is authenticity. And just, I think you see that when you meet people in person. Side note, but going back to Chris. So Chris called me at the end of last year, at the end of 2016, and we had this long chat. And he's like, "Look, dude, I want to get into public speaking, and I don't think he'd mind me sharing this story. So, sorry in advance, Chris, if you do." But he's like, "I really want to get more into public speaking, and I need your advice." So I said, "Look, let's face it. You are in Europe. And a lot of the events that you're telling me you're applying for are in the US or Canada. So right out of the gate, a lot of these conferences are going to view that as an expense. So maybe you should start off with starting local, like start in the European region where you're at. There's a lot of countries around there. There's a lot of different events. So start with that." So, like my point of view is always start local and then expand outward. 2, pick no more than 10 conferences. Pick 10 conferences that you really want to speak at. And prepare for them a pitch of a topic that you're going to talk about that no one else is talking about. Let's face it, a lot of people are hitting up conference organizers wanting to talk about Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and yada, yada, yada. So you have to have a pitch and you have to have an angle that someone else is not pitching. So once you have that pitch down, the end piece and the most important piece is what value are you going to bring to the members of that audience? So what makes you qualified to speak on that topic? Conference organizers get hit up every single day. Conference organizers see through a lot of BS. What makes you qualified along with what is your pitch?
Welcome, Jeff Adams. Good to see you from Be Live TV Weekly. I think when it comes down to speaking too, everybody can't target the same conferences as well, right? Like, correct. You only need so many people who speak about social media at Social Media Marketing World, right? But correct. If you go to like, I don't know, an actuarial conference or something, you probably have a much better chance to speak about social media. I don't know if they do social media in that field or not, but right, like you don't necessarily need to knock on the same door where everybody's knocking. There's plenty of industries that are in great need of advice on things like social media, and you could be the only one who shows up at that conference with something to say on a subject, and people will love you for it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ross, is attending industry events. So, obviously in our space that we work in, speaking at Social Media Marketing World, speaking at South by Southwest, those are even Content Marketing World, like that's the Mecca. It took me, almost 10 years to make it to speak at a Social Media Marketing World. It took me almost 10 years to speak at Social Media Marketing World. You don't get there overnight. It's a very good goal to have, but it takes time. So start speaking in your community, start speaking at more industry-focused events. I know speakers that make their entire living speaking at like dental industry conferences or hospitality association conferences. There are so many different associations and industries out there that you can penetrate and speak at that you will never go broke. You will never go hungry if you just work that industry.
Wow. So can you give us a little preview of what you're going to be talking about, what's coming up at Social Media Marketing World 17?
Yes, I'll be speaking about Snapchat strategies for marketing. It's going to be, very much an advanced presentation. So how to create content on Snapchat, how to find influencers, how to even use spectacles. And I'm going to start talking actually about micro content storytelling with Instagram. So there's a lot of heartburn with Instagram nowadays, and a lot of marketers wondering, should I be on Snapchat? Should I be on Instagram? I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's going to be there in San Diego, but my point of view is you should be on both. You should absolutely be on both because you have further reach being on both. You can reach different audiences. And let's face it, none of these social networks are created equally. So I would be foolish to think that I should either all go in on Snapchat or all go in on Instagram and cancel one out versus the other.
Now, do you think that Snapchat is going to add live video, or do you think it's going to hold off as the platform that doesn't go all in on live video?
I absolutely think they will add live video. I think they have to add live video at this point.
Mm-hmm. And will it be live video within your stories so that only people you're connected to, you think? Or will it be you can broadcast to the world from your Snapchat account?
Well, let's face it. Right now, you can do live video conferencing calls directly with one person. So all they really have to do, you would think, is their engineering team is flip a switch and broadcast the same feed to all your followers, your entire story.
Well, you can now save live videos on Instagram, Carlos Phoenix said. That must have just happened, huh?
As of today.
Wow. Breaking news right here on Livestream Stars. That is huge. So I kind of liked it that videos didn't save there. I liked it that there was one platform I could go live and just chat with people and not have to worry about promoting it or repurposing it or anything. It was just the raw conversation, and if there was dead air, that's fine. Just whatever people wanted to talk to you about, and then you could hop off and it's gone. Well, I also think one thing I wanted to throw out there, and you may have a thought on this from a marketing perspective, is for brands wanting to answer customer complaints or problems or things like that, I thought it was a great opportunity to really reach the customer and then know that that will disappear afterwards, right? And you help some people, but you don't have necessarily a long track record of problems out there in the public forum.
The functionality is still the same, so it won't save to your Instagram. Yeah, Nick is saying it here. The only functionality that's been added is you have the option of saving it to your camera roll.
Oh, okay. So that's not the revolutionary change that I was thinking it was. Oh, okay. No, that's, so you can do with it what you want. So basically you could take it, you could repurpose it. If you have a great Instagram live conversation or whatever, you can then take that and you could put it on any other platform and share it that allows video.
Correct.
So that's the advantage of it, that it's not locked into that time, right? And you could also, another thing you could do is you could cut a snippet out of it and put it actually on your main account, right, on your profile.
Correct.
So like your reaction when people say Instagram versus Snapchat, right? And you gave away the punchline, I guess, is that you should be on both. What about, what do you say to people like me who really want to like Snapchat because there's so many people that I like who are on Snapchat and love it, and I have fun when I hang out with them in person or live stream with them, but I just can't force myself to go on Snapchat or to create content for it. Why is it that I'm okay with Instagram? I'm okay with Facebook in their stories, in their whole way of communicating. But I get on Snapchat and it's like I've entered another world, and it's like, I don't have time for this.
It's all perception, man. It's all perception, Ross. At the end of the day, I think Instagram and Snapchat now do the same exact thing. When you really think about it, peel back the layers of the onion.
Right.
You can disappearing content that goes away within 24 hours. You can send direct messages. The only difference is you don't have a gallery of photos on Snapchat.
Right.
You don't have hashtags. So they provide very similar functionality. I think it just comes down to perception. You have a lot of folks that said, I will never get on Snapchat because it's for kids, yada, yada. So it's a matter of preference. It's honestly, it's Coke versus Pepsi. It's Nike versus Reebok. As an end user, you don't have to be on both. You really don't. I don't think you're going to miss anything if you choose one versus the other. I think as a brand, you definitely have much more to lose.
I think, the thought, like, I started using social. At first, I started using it just to build a personal brand, right? Then later, I've used it for other purposes. But at that time, my mindset was so focused on Instagram is a great way to share what you're doing in a public forum that can be found, right? Like the content you create, yes, you can download it and repurpose it, but it's really the conversations. And if you're already having those conversations on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, maybe you don't have to be on Snapchat, but there's definitely a community there for brands and for people who want to do it, where they'll communicate with you with an enthusiasm and an energy, and the barrier to entry is lower definitely on Snapchat than it is on a lot of other platforms, right? Right,
of course.
So, what do you see like as we look forward, right? With Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, those. I mean, Pinterest a little bit with is sort of trying to get back into the game. I'm not saying they're not in the game at all, because people are buying things on Pinterest and they have a devoted following, but it's definitely not top of mind like it was to a lot of marketers, I don't think, right?
I have not used Pinterest since I got consumer marketing in 2015. So I really can't tell you. I don't even think my wife uses Pinterest anymore. Instagram, man. I'm telling you, Instagram, even for me, is taking up a lot of my time. I know a lot of us that first met through even Snapchat. A lot of us, man, are like going hard on Instagram because like the versatility of it. Like you gotta think with Pinterest, the discoverability is really cool. If you're looking, for example, to like remodel your house or like latest fashions to wear, you can go on Instagram, you can type in a couple of relevant hashtags, you can find engaging content.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Pinterest, it's not social at all. I mean, of all the social networks, it's like not social. I mean, that's one network where if you don't follow people back or engage, it's okay because nobody's following you or engaging with you unless they like a board and they're looking for ideas for something, right? But I think, going forward, stories are obviously now a part of Facebook. They're a part of Instagram. They're a part of Snapchat. What do you think is the common denominator when you look at people who create good stories? Is there something like a lesson that people can take away if they want to step up their game as far as creating stories that are of interest to a wider audience?
Yeah, a couple things. I think the key to a good story is to keep your entire story within 2 minutes. So when you really think about the nature of Snapchat, a snap is as long as 10 seconds. So if you snap for 2 minutes, that's about 12 snaps. So keep your story relatively short, storyboard it out. Like this is social media 101 anytime you create content. So really think through having your beginning, middle, or end. Any influencer or content creator on the platform is going to tell you that. Bring people through a journey or tell them a story or teach them. The most important thing is you want people to walk away with some sort of a feeling of like, wow, this person just either entertained me, they made me laugh, or they taught me something cool that I didn't know before.
Right. So before we wrap up, any other conferences you have coming up that you're speaking at that you can let us know about now? Or
yes, I'm going to be in a couple of weeks at Hispanicize in Miami. Hispanicize is the largest marketing conference for Hispanic American professionals. That's going to be in Miami. I'm really excited. I'm also up for an award that I'm nominated. I've been nominated for the Best Latino Snapchatter of the year. So really excited about that.
Hey, Doug Cohen has a question. Anyone here using full scope Snapchat analytics? Are you familiar with that?
I am not familiar with it.
Okay. I can see if anybody else wants to throw something in the chat if they're using it. I'm certainly not deep enough into Snapchat to need help with analytics. But thanks for the question, Doug, and congratulations on Michigan making it to the Sweet 16. And congratulations, of course, Stephanie offers to Carlos for being nominated and for also speaking at the conference coming up in Miami. So anyway, I just want to thank you for taking time. I know you're in demand. You're doing all these speaking gigs, you're doing video series, and you have a full-time job, and you're a dad and everything else. But you're a great guy, and I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time, and can't wait till we can get together again in person and
absolutely
chat some more. So
yeah, thank you so much, Ross, for having me on. Just want to say, thank you for all of you that are going to be at Social Media Marketer World. Make sure you find me. Let's take a selfie. Let's say what's up. And anyone that has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and tag me, and I'll be sure to respond.
carlosgill.biz is the website, at carlosgill83 on Twitter, the Carlos Gill on Snapchat. You're not going to let that guy take it away from you on Snapchat. Anything else you got going on that you want people to reach out to you about?
Yeah, just want to go ahead and plug the YouTube channel, which is Carlos Gill TV. Make sure you go to youtube.com/Carlos Gill TV. I've got a lot of content on there that's dropping on a weekly basis. So I really appreciate that you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up to my content. And I am here to do anything that you guys need my help with. So
awesome.
I can help you out.
Thanks, Carlos. Next week, big week, Monday night, we have Cynthia Bazin at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Smart Chick, and Tuesday night, Mario Armstrong will be talking about the debut of his Never Settle show coming up about a week later. So can't wait to talk to him as well, and we'll be back with updates on Wednesday and Thursday too. So thanks everybody for joining us. If you haven't had a chance, do please share this out. Carlos dropped a lot of knowledge here. We want to let people know so that they can check it out and share in the wisdom that we all gained today. So again, thanks to Carlos and everybody for joining us today, and have a great evening, everybody.